right, good to see everyone. Okay, so injuries today, just a couple updates there. Will not practice today is Brisker and Gordon. They're still working through what they had from the previous games and their day-to-day, and we'll see where that is. Back at practice today will be, Tyreek, Smitty will be back, Pickens, Daly, and also returning will be Homer and Larry Bourne. So those guys will be back. Good to see those guys back. Excited about today, getting first and second down in. I had our meetings this morning, outlining the keys to victory with the team, and just working through those the details of really focusing on the run game on both sides of the ball. The run actions, the movement passes, all those things that we do on today. But good to get back at it after the bye. So guys are in pretty good shape, mentally, physically, and we're ready to go. So with that, I'll take questions.
It's been a while since Brisker's concussion, 16, 17 days. Do you have concern just on a human level? This is his third year with a concussion, and now it's taken a while.
Yeah, I always have concern with anybody that's in concussion. So it's a big injury. It's something that you got to be very careful about, and our guys do a great job with those guys working through, the protocol. That's why it's in place. And that's why the NFL has instituted that. So it's where it is right now, and we're hoping that he's getting better every single day.
What's your approach, game planning defensively with their quarterback situation? Because it is a significant difference whether you're facing Mariota or Daniels.
Yeah, it's a similar offense when you watch the offenses. Of course, the different types of players, in terms of who they are quarterback-wise. But again, our plan will be our plan, and we'll adjust. We'll have a contingency plans for that, for who's in there. But we're going to stick with what we're doing.
What kind of challenges does Mariota present from the times that you've overlapped with him in the AFC side?
Yeah, just the experience factor. I thought he really did a nice job. If you look at his rating last week, efficient, effective during the course of that whole game, and pretty much he was in the whole game. And obviously, you guys saw the score. So did an outstanding job.
You guys have talked since the spring about Caleb's ability to connect across the building and in the locker room. In what ways do you think that has paid dividends specifically since the regular season started, his ability to kind of have those connections?
Yeah, just really the continuity in terms of communicating with the receivers, with the line, and being on the same page, and just really focusing on the detail. That started about a month ago, where we started to really focus on the details. The guys understood the offense, and we adjusted it a little bit as we went, of course, and we're still doing that. We're still finding our winning way and the best way for that particular week to win that particular game. But really, just a connection. You got to have that, and that's all part of the relationship that we talk about and communicating with each other to get it right. Doesn't mean that it's if it's your idea, that's great, but it doesn't have to be your idea. It's got to be the right idea, and we just got to execute at a high level.
Matt, when you did your background on Caleb before the draft, one of the things I heard him talk about from his childhood in Washington was that in high school he lived alone in an apartment by himself because of the commute from the suburbs to the school that he went to. What did you make of that? I mean, you're a parent, you have kids. Like, what did you think of a guy who had the maturity to live on his own as a teenager?
Yeah, I think that helped him, because you think about that. The first time, we all went away to college at some point, and you're like, going, hey, this is a little bit different, right? So he did that at an early age to be able to be on his own like that and really, function, and get to places and get to where he needs to be and, take care of it that way. So I just think the maturity level was just earlier that way. And, the experiences he's been through has made him what he is today. And that's a really experienced, more mature type of young man that he is.
Matt, from week one to now, we've seen Caleb Williams get better every week. QBR keeps getting better. His touchdowns, keep seeing more of him be able to get the ball to receivers easier. What have you seen grow in his processing from week one to where you're at in the bye week, and where do you see him getting to post-bye?
Yeah, it's just really reps, right? His reps, exposures of NFL defenses, of our offense, and then really the continuity with the receivers, getting timing down with all those guys. And he's been able to do a really good job of mixing it up, in terms of who he's going to week to week. There'll be, targets with this guy, targets with that guy, and especially situationally. You always got to adjust and change that as you go because they'll focus on a certain guy in certain situations. So it's really good that we have a good spread of where we're spreading the football to.
What stood out to you last week? I know the coaches were in, I think, Monday through Wednesday, and kind of doing some self-scouting at the bye week. Like,
What stood out and anything surprised you at all when you look back at stuff like that?
No, I mean, because we're doing that the whole way through, in game, after game, then into the next game. So nothing really surprised us there. But it's good to just take a breath and take a look and see what we need to go do the next stack of games or that next particular game. So, we're excited about implementing some of those new things that we want to do on all sides of the ball this week, and we introduce those to the players today. So it'll be good going forward.
Yeah, what do the Commanders do best on offense? It's irrespective of the quarterback, where it doesn't matter who's there. What's the one thing that is the biggest concern for your defense?
Yeah, that when you do no huddle or on the ball like that, it's just about the communication and being ready on defense, and that's what the intent is of the offense. And I was in college football for 8 years as a coordinator, and 4 years at the other place I was at. So if we've seen it, and you just got to be really good at being able to get lined up, communicate, making sure you're right, and it's going to be about what you're doing first, and then be able to execute a multitude of things at that speed.
And should we expect to see the same configuration on the offensive line that we've seen?
Yes, sir.
Can you explain a little bit of the process and the timeline of how the offensive game plan gets put together through the week with you and Shane? Is it a case of Shane kind of comes up with something and then presents it to you and you give some edits, or can you just explain a little bit about how that works practically?
Yeah, we start out by looking at the opponent personnel. That's always the biggest thing. Like, who do we have to deal with? In terms of defensive linemen, corners, or
You and him together.
and talking about that, and that's important that we do that. With the offensive staff, we're all in there together, and who we got to neutralize in terms of their strength, and then where do we see we can attack that particular team. It could be coverage based, it could be whatever it is, could be people, and that's where we start. That's where you start on offense and defense. That's an important piece of it, and then you start working your scheme towards that. How do you work your scheme to minimize their strength, and attack the weakness, and that's what you always do. And then you start with, doing it by situations. You start with your first and second down plays, and you work into your third down there, and then work into your red zone from there in 2 minutes. We have a meeting every single day afterward. How'd it go? What we got to change? What do we got to work on? What needs to be adjusted? And then just go from there. It's day to day.
Now, how has your approach to that evolved? You've been an offensive coach for now 3 years out of your 30 plus in coaching. How has that evolved from day one to now?
I would just say that without getting into too much detail, I would just say experience, on the job, and then trusting your staff members. You trust the defensive guys to be able to put the game plan together. You trust your offensive guys to be able to put the game plan together, and you make suggestions based on what you see, where coverage weaknesses are, where the holes are in that particular run game, pass game, and you talk to the offensive staff or the defensive staff of what we got to do better.
When you interviewed offensive coordinators this offseason, how did you factor in kind of the unique home situation you guys have, where you're outdoors in the winter? There's some stuff that works in domes that doesn't necessarily work when it's snowing or raining. What factor did that play when you were trying to sort through, okay, is this stuff going to work for us the way it did at their previous stop or whatever it might be?
You just talk about the Chicago weather? Yeah.
It's North weather.
Yeah, it's great. A couple teams got domes, but yeah, I love it. It's great, because you really got to factor that in. It's factored into the kicking game. It's factored into decisions you make based on what's going on with the weather. And to me, it's very important that you practice outside and you practice in the elements to be able to understand the wind. I know Caleb talked about it last week. I said, "How you doing?" I met with him before the game in London. I said, "Hey, how you doing today?" He goes, "Man, I'm spinning it today." And I was like, "Yeah." I go, "Why?" He goes, "There's no wind." So there was no wind there, and he had dealt with wind the first, last 2 prior weeks, and he was excited about being able to spin it that day.
Did that factor into the fact that you need more? Did you need more balance in whatever offense you were going to choose this offseason? Because, like I said, it's not as easy to throw half the year here.
Yeah, I think you always have to be able to lean on the run game. The old saying that's you throw to score points and you run to win. That's what it is. You need chunk plays, but eventually at the end of the game, when you want to seal the deal, you have to run the ball. And to control the line of scrimmage and control distances early in the game, running the football, and that could be with controlled passing too. But you want to be able to control those distances so that you can work them out into your favor So you get your second mediums, third and shorters, or don't even get the third down. So to me, it's always about that.
Matt,
As big of
last
an
one quick.
impact that Jaden has in their run game, like if he's not able to go, and I know Mariota has, you know, he scrambled before, but he's not the same type of runner that Jaden is, like how do you account for that? And do you have multiple scout team quarterbacks that give your defense a different look this week to prepare for either situation?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we have guys that are going to do that, but we feel Bajent's is really athletic. You know, he's able to operate that. He's operated that type of offense before, and I think he's going to do a wonderful job that way. But you do have to have contingency plans on who's going to be in there. So if you're facing one quarterback, you may be doing these set of things towards that quarterback, and if there's another quarterback in there, you're going to adjust a little bit. You know, your game plan, of course.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Okay.